Thank you, Barry. Thank you, ICO Box. And I hope so far been very helpful, especially with Gibraltar. Well, welcome. I would like to introduce yourself in here, and we go from there. I think we got a microphone. We'll start from there.
Hi, my name is Thomas Power. I'm a board member with Nine Spokes PLC in New Zealand, and I've done half a dozen different ICOs, both as a board member or as an investor.
Hello, I'm Daniel Evans. I'm Philip's colleague from earlier at the Gibraltar Stock Exchange and the Gibraltar Blockchain Exchange. We're very excited to cover quite a range of different things, so thank you.
Good morning, my name's Simon Fordham. I guess I could be classed one of those advisors that you shouldn't trust. However, hopefully I'm coming at it from a completely different angle in that I actually do take the companies apart and put them back together again to make sure they do what they say they do on the tin.
Oh, good, thank you. I'm going to start with the audience over here. How many of you guys know what ICO means for? What does it stand for? Okay, for the guys at home, it stands for Initial Coin Offering. So how many of you guys have any investment in any of these coins? So we say about 1/3. So okay, good. Let's start from you over here. What are we right now with these ICOs, and next they call it 2.0, and what is happening right now?
Okay, so I come at everything from an investment perspective and protecting the investor and the consumer, exactly as our speakers were talking before, in particular the last one. And my job as an advisor consultant is to make sure that the business is actually real, and to make sure that the people behind it are the right team. They know about business, they have capability, they have ability, and they're not just trying to raise money and be one of the 90% that disappear after the ICO has raised funding.
Oh, they are been disappearing. It looks like that's just a lot of things over there. So what did let me ask you the question over there. What do you? We asked earlier. You guys do this. For the people who've just joined this, at home or here, what do you guys actually offer in your stock exchange for the currencies? Most of the banks exchange. Who are these people that come in and want to be listed in your place?
Sure. So it's worth stating that the Gibraltar Stock Exchange is a fully regulated stock exchange as you would understand it, and the Gibraltar Blockchain Exchange is a subsidiary of that, where we are essentially trying to take the best of modern financial services practices, and where it's applicable, take those kinds of standards to token sales, to really give a project and investors a fair shot. We're not exactly taking a commercial view. It'd be inappropriate for us to do that, sitting fairly neutrally as the market itself. But really, it is about raising standards of transparency, of governance, to try, like I said, give people a bit of a fair shot. So that's kind of what token sales or ICO 2.0 means to us.
So you guys have a future for this thing. Basically, reading Inside and all this from PwC and Capgemini, they're talking about who are these companies, or is any company already listed in there, or is this just the beginning?
I'm not sure how much I can say about this or not, but we definitely have a pipeline of people that we will be announced as and when it's appropriate.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. Go ahead. So tell us, what do you think about the whole thing?
I think the history matters because of the timing it's taken for e-commerce to be adopted, for cloud to be adopted, for social media to be adopted. And so if we look at the idea of Bitcoin or blockchain belonging in 2008, the idea belongs there. And so we're 10 years into the cycle. If we look at the time it took for e-commerce to be adopted, for cloud to be adopted, for social media to be adopted, it's about 15 years. So I would say we're 5 years away from critical mass in terms of tokens, blockchain, ICOs, tokenomics, cryptonomics, crypto capitalism, token capitalism. I've heard so many labels in the last 12 months. I've been to about 50 different events. It reminds me so much of .com. .com is now .coin. It's 20 years later. We remember the fairy tales of .com walking around with our lottery tickets 20 years ago. And it feels like that now with tokens. Tokens are our new lottery tickets. But if we look at the scale of the ICOs, we should finish this year on about 5,000. Done and live. Let's work on the assumption, like .com, 99% fail. Let's assume we get 10,000 by the end of next year. So by 2020, we'll have 10,000 new co's, crypto co's, token co's. Let's assume 99% of those go down. That leaves 100 to get through. The key then is picking the 100. And this gentleman is right, Simon. It's about the board members, the executives, the founders, the operators, just like .com. And we only really remember Amazon, Google, and Facebook. We don't remember the others. And so who are the 100 going to be? And the question is, can you identify the 100? Can you invest in the 100? Can you be a board member in the 100? Because I think 9,900 will go down.
Yeah, well, that's a very good observation. I was actually in Silicon Valley doing the .bombs and .coms. And I do live there, and so I've seen it all over again. And this is what's happening exactly. So I agree with you over here. But when I see companies like Kodak, and I mean, which is they're done, and companies like Telegraph and other people, they're getting to this coin, coinonomics, what do you call it? The tokenomics, and we call it. Is it like investor appetite? I mean, and I'm going to start with you. We're going to ask the question. I mean, I know you have a different opinion on that, so you can just decline, based by. But is it somehow that investor appetite? They want to find the next, Facebook, the next Google. I mean, who are these investors? I mean, I don't see it. Mostly they're from Asia. They're from Europe. In America, I don't see a lot of these people invest. They might buy Bitcoin, but putting money in some of these coins, I mean, we don't know where they come from.
I think we do know where they come from because they're all on Telegram. That in itself is a big shift. All of these ICO token groups are on Telegram. They're not on LinkedIn. They're not on Twitter. They're not on Facebook. They're all on Telegram. So that's significant that they're on a different platform, dare I say, a Russian platform, and everything that comes with that, albeit Pavel has relocated it in Dubai. So the investors are all there. Those groups are growing very, very quickly. But if I think about where all the investors are coming from, they're hunting for their Facebook, Google, Twitter, whatever it might be. But I actually believe in Kodak coin because regardless of what we think about Kodak, we all know it. And many of us have got very fond memories of Kodak, albeit 20 or 30 years ago. And Kodak do have a lot of intellectual property, a lot of intellectual property on their balance sheet that is not really being released. And Kodak coin gives you a chance to invest in that IP and get a token, albeit a token holder is not a shareholder. But I think that's a real opportunity. And I think a lot of old brands will tokenize. And until we see a major event like the Telegram ICO, a big event, a multi-billion-dollar event, we won't get the big players in. Right now we've got a gambling, speculating market. But when the brands tokenize, and then you can tokenize all those assets and exchange them across all of the platforms on Ethereum, across all the brands, that's mega. But that's still 5 years away, I think.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Just go ahead.
I suppose our perspective is a little bit skewed at the Gibraltar Blockchain Exchange. We're very much into trying to create a market where people aren't just gambling, where there are rules for the projects that are coming to it, but also that the people who are signing up to use it are disclosing, the basic KYC and anti-money laundering information. So we're getting a very good sense about where people are coming from, and a little bit about perhaps what their intentions are if they're buying into the same sort of ethos and message that we're trying to promote. I think you're probably right. I think more broadly, there's a lot of different reasons why people are looking at tokens. But actually, the reason I originally got interested in anything to do with cryptocurrencies it was back in Bitcoin, I didn't even know what the price was for about 3 years. It was because it was a new technology. It was participation in new technology. And I don't think you can underestimate how many people who have the kind of ETH to allocate to token sales are the same kinds of people who are developers or technologists and the rest. It'll be very interesting to see where things are going forward, especially after the last year or two.
So I think, Simon, this is the year we kind of see the evolving to the things get out of hand, or is just settled down. What do we hear this year?
Well, I'd like to think that with the Gibraltar exchange coming online, that we're actually going to have some form of regulation in the industry that is desperately needed. I get contacted by token offerings probably 5 to 10 a day via LinkedIn, asking me to be their strategic business advisor. And I get contacted by investors as well, potential investors, saying, what should I invest in? And I'm constantly asking them to look at the 3 things that I think is important when assessing either as an investor or as a token. And that's who's running the team, who is the team, who's it made up of, what's their business experience, what's their capacity, what's their capability. Look at the transparency of them. You know, are they out there in the ether, or do they actually exist? Can you find them? And also, the other thing that I find is so relevant is, have they got traction in the marketplace? Have they done this before somewhere in some shape or form? Not necessarily in the form of ICO, but certainly in business. You know, what are their credentials? And if investors keep to those 3 T's, they shouldn't go far wrong. And if ICOs keep to those 3 T's, they shouldn't go far wrong. As a potential investor myself and an advisor, if they can't meet the transparency test, why would you ever invest in them? If they can't meet the team test, why would you ever invest in them? It just doesn't make sense. And we're in this gambling arena at the moment where people are taking a punt on some very strange offerings, you know, and some people are getting lucky, absolutely. But 99% of them aren't getting lucky, and they'll never see their money again. And that's a great fear.
Yeah, no, and that's what we did, you know, as a fintech world. I travel around and I see who's basically, you know, investing in this. So we did some kind of a report in the fintech world. And it's been mostly the people who made money on the Bitcoin, and they are reinvesting, trying to find out, and I don't see it. But most of these, it's not the outside. And there are some institutional, they're starting to play the game, just kind of, you know, see what's going on. But a lot of these exchanges, you know, in the US and other places, they're not regulated, not, you know. So now it comes you guys as giving credibility and probably going to do the due diligence. And but what we find out, a lot of these exchanges, they are not regulated. A lot of these ICOs are kind of a fraud. You know, I can say that they're fraud. Some of them, about 80% of them, fraud. And it isn't a matter of a pump and dump. But they say they raise about $20 million, but $20 million of their own coin. So they kind of, you know, pump it in the so they get the news out there, and it's just a wild west of you know, and I see them, you know, basically it's very difficult, you know, to you know, everybody getting to this wave of, you know, wanting to be part of a good things, but I think it's a lot of them are fraud in a way.
You are right. It is wild west, and it is very .com. But there is something different here. I don't know whether it's 80% are scams, Mike, because that's a huge number to put on a camera, by the way, and on Twitter. So you're going to get hell to that. But there is something.
But I must agree with him.
Okay. So
yeah,
that's
80%.
Yeah,
no
seems
no
a bit high.
I can
to
say
me
80% about fraud.
Okay. The difference with .com is that when you buy the token, you can invest in the idea. You can invest in the platform. You could never do that with .com unless you're a high net worth individual and you could put in 50,000 or 100,000 to the idea. And when I talk to millennials who are investing in these ideas, these platforms, these new tokens, they talk to me about what fun it is, what a game it is, what great fun it's being part of the Telegram group, going backwards and forwards on the exchanges, saving them onto their ledger devices. And when I say, why are you doing it when you're only a token holder, you're not a shareholder? And they say, well, because I don't know how to buy equities. And I think it is a failing of the traditional equities market, the public equities market, that they've not made it easy to buy their equities.
That's true.
Buy a BT, buy a Vodafone, buy a Microsoft. They haven't made it easy to buy, and they haven't made it a fun experience and a game. And there's lots of events, and all the tokens have get-togethers and meetups at different cities around the world. I go to them all the time. It's fun being part of the community. And the millennial generation love being in these gangs, these clubs. And there's a financial reward as well. So it's it's a fun game that could pay you back.
It's fun to go to the Las Vegas and lose your money too. This is like a gambling, in all the way again. And I'm a mentor to a lot of these entrepreneurs. I love them, but now everywhere I go, everybody wants to do ICOs, including my barber. Want to do ICOs. It's amazing. I mean, it's good, but I think it's a gambling in a way.
Well, speaking as a millennial who I don't think I wouldn't. I think it's worth pointing out. So I actually do agree with you. The traditional financial services markets, for people aren't actually making quite an effort to investigate and learn about it and figure out how it works, can be quite hard to look at and intimidating and off-putting. That's one of the reasons why we're looking at this, not just at the GBX, but you'll have seen earlier on Philip's presentation that we're looking to integrate and make the Gibraltar Stock Exchange itself a fully blockchain integrated stock exchange to try and make access to certain bits of the capital markets easier. Now, this absolutely is not a game. It absolutely is not sort of fun and the rest of it, although I'm sure people will have fun. But it's that there's definitely ways that we can tackle this and bring it forward for all of those traditional markets. And this is kind of where I'm starting to see some overlaps between the different use cases for ICOs. And that as a phrase is becoming fairly inappropriate quite quickly. Numbers of projects that are to do with, say, tokenized assets, for example, particularly things like gold. There's a gazillion gold projects out there, and all sorts of others. We're starting to see a lot more of that come into place too. And I think it's only really a matter of time until people start issuing stocks and shares to blockchains. That's certainly where we see things going. And it's funny when you say a lot of millennials. I had this exact conversation with my father, who is an ex-investment banker, ex-hedge fund guy, where he was talking about when the price went absolutely bananas in December. He was saying to me, you should really sort of think about what else you might want to buy. Have you thought about buying gold? And I pretty much straight up said to him, I have no idea how to buy gold. And he thought that's absolutely crazy and hilarious that I know how to deal with Bitcoin. I know how to sort of split things up and keep different bits safe in hardware wallets or paper wallets or whatever else. Yep. But I had no idea what I would do if I wanted to buy either derivatives of gold or an actual bar or something itself. So anything that can be done.
No, that's good. So I'm glad we have the youngsters here for Millennium. 28. So we are creating generation of investors here.
Yeah,
Simon.
Look, we have the whole financial services market has gone through a radical sea change in the last 5 years. As an entrepreneur, as a business person, as a person who helps others in business, businesses haven't been able to borrow money or find money in the traditional marketplace now for 10, 12 years since the recession. And banks like that company out there and Barclays, HSBC and the others around this very tiny space that we're sitting in are sitting back thinking this is not going to affect us. Well, it is. Absolutely 100%. And I got into this through crowdfunding, meeting Barry, reading his book, absolutely agreeing with everything that the crowdfunding book suggested, in that people are hungry to grow businesses, not just in the UK, but in the world. But to do that, we need money. And if the banks aren't willing to stand up and show themselves as lenders of money, then there are other ways that the consumer, the investor, and the business person is going to find to do it. And we found it. We just need a little bit of help. We need the regulation and support to do it.
And that's great. So this is what's happening right now. For our audience, I think a lot of entrepreneurs are hungry to grow their business. We have people who want to start businesses, and so they're going to this tokenomics way of raising. But there's somewhere as a millennial to go and Starbucks and put their phone and pay for the coffee and that, and being as a user and being as investors, it's a different thing. They're already, I don't know, in UK probably education is free, but in America and other places in the world they have to pay once somebody finished the college. They owe a lot of student loans. And that's the biggest problem they have basically. So well, in England too. So I don't know the law here, but so if you there's one thing that you be as a user go in Starbucks, use your PayPal or Apple Pay, but being as an investor, you got to be careful. I mean, you got to be very careful. A lot of these companies, ICOs, I checked them up. I agree, about 80% of them are fraud. Some of them are not fraud because that's what we call it here, blue chip ICOs. Not that we endorse them. We don't endorse anybody. We don't know about their books. But we know that there are companies that already existed. And they have $100 million, $200 million, but they're using blockchain, what it will be a healthcare, what will be in some other application using the blockchain. They're just branching to that. Or in case of the Kodak, they have a lot of patents, and so be careful what you investing, just consult with anything. We're going to take a couple of questions here, one or two questions from audience, then we're going to wrap it up. Go ahead, sir. Yeah, that's yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
I don't think I have an easy answer for you. There's a lot of complicated legal issues there, especially when it comes to the differences in the ways that tokens are treated by different regulators, not just between Europe and America, but even within America. You're starting to see a bit of a battle going on between the SEC and the CFTC, for example, as to whether or not tokens are regulated as commodities or as securities. I would just strongly advise that you stick with your lawyer's advice. I'm not sure I can help you on an answer with that one.
That's good. That's a good answer. All right, one more question. We're gonna go. Okay, I think we don't have. You have one, sir. Go ahead. I think Barry's has some algorithm, and I think you're going to talk about it later. Not that he endorses him what he does it, but there are you gotta do on your own due diligence. Find out, like the panel Simon said. Find out who these people are. Check their credit, who they are, what they have done before. I mean, there's a lot of other scams going on. Somebody copy this ICO site. So you might thinking to go to some ICO site, but it's a copy. And you're investing in some scammers over there. So you got to be careful. That's what it is.
That's the problem we're trying to solve with the Gibraltar blockchain exchange. As a very short answer.
To me, quality is defined by their ability to build a community on Telegram. If they can't do it, they're the scammers.
They have like 50,000, 100,000 users on their Telegram, and they're just full of crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you can see the quality. One of the things Gary taught me last year was to study all the Telegram groups for all the tokens. You can spot a scammy Telegram group in seconds, and you can spot a professional one in seconds. That's your quality. And the fact that people can build one shows the quality of the team members. I completely agree with Simon about it's the quality of the team members. It's no different to any startup. You're investing in those teams.
But some of those team members, I've seen this happen in US. Some of the lawyers, they steal their pictures out of their link and then they put in their site. You gotta watch. They do that. I've seen my pictures in some ICOs. I said I'm not involved, and I don't. By the way, I don't. The biggest thing that he mentioned about this, watch out for those advisors. What are they gonna do? But a lot of these advisors, they use their pictures. They're not even there. So we got to wrap it up here. Thank you. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your opinion. So invest wisely. Thank you. Bye-bye.